indicates that's not true at all. So for instance, most marketing has been built on the heavy user. But the heavy influencer, the heavy user is who uses your product or service. The heavy influencer is someone who's got charisma and network size. Someone who's got a large network and got charisma is a heavy influencer. But even within the heavy influencers, there are two types of influencers. There are advocates, people who like you, and there are detractors, people who hate you. Guess who's 4 times more likely to speak? A detractor and an advocate. A detractor. When something goes wrong, don't you scream and yell and scream and yell? When something goes right, how often do you say it goes right? Now, a heavy detractor is not likely to be a heavy user unless they're like a masochist, right? Which therefore means in the future of marketing, if you only focus on heavy users in an age of the people's network, you are slowly killing your brand. Just think about that. We have built an entire model on heavy users, but in a people's network world, you have to speak to advocates, or rather detractors. If you cannot defang your detractors, it's no use arming your advocates. And that's a fundamental shift. And as a result, networks, like a lot of these networks that you see, underlying it, they've got a lot of mathematics. They've got a lot of mathematics that allow you to identify behavior and identify who to speak to. And that's what they're really doing. They're collecting a lot of information. With that being said, I'd like Earl to talk a little bit about the fact how the whole news media...
Especially the newspaper executives in the room. Newspaper executives are always talking about they're running out of room to grow. Social media and the idea of... We're rediscovering the idea of sharing in our industry gives us an opportunity to push beyond our traditional audience in new and different ways. And so maybe, again, that's the secret sauce for newspaper companies.
So I'm going to now have each one of our panelists give you 1 or 2 pieces of advice that they would like you to take away and do when you finish this conference. Okay? And I'm going to start, so it'll give them chances to think. So the first is, this entire area is not an area where you can be a scholar. This is an area where you have to be an apprentice. So if you all are not using social media, which means if you are not on Twitter, it doesn't mean you have anything to tweet about. You don't have to tweet that you went to the bathroom. Don't worry, okay? You can follow people and you can learn stuff. It's free. If you aren't using Twitter and you are in this business and you aren't using it after you leave this conference, I would suggest you resign quickly. Okay, you are becoming irrelevant. And it's not just Twitter, it's LinkedIn. In the future, people will not send you resumes. People who send you resumes increasingly, or biodatas, are increasingly old and ancient. They will basically send you their LinkedIn, bio. That's what I'm getting from all over the world now. So you should manage your LinkedIn bio. And if you don't have a bio, that means you don't exist. Okay. The third is get onto Facebook, because your family, your kids, your friends, your enemies are all there. So you might as well be on there, which is important. Fourth, be there on Google Plus for a variety of reasons. I can tell you it's going to work. Okay, that's all I will tell you. It's going to work. And it's going to work in a very big way. So get onto Google Plus. So if you're not on Google Plus, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, by the time you get back from this conference, don't say things like social media. Just go and grow a farm somewhere, okay, and get out of the business. That's one very important thing. Because everybody reads. This is not reading. You have to do, okay? And all of us, you can be friends of ours because we are desperate for friends. So you can find our names on LinkedIn. We just became all pals on LinkedIn. You can find us on Facebook, I think. Some of us may be I'll accept everybody's friends. And you can find us on Twitter, okay, which if you type in our name. So you can do that. The second thing, the second piece of advice that I would give you all is this. Do not forget that you actually have real people you market to and you run a business. And if it doesn't make sense from a consumer perspective and it doesn't make sense from a business perspective, don't believe any technology guru or billion-dollar valuation company. Okay? If it doesn't make sense, it means it doesn't make sense. But it's only when you have used it, and then if it doesn't make sense. But now if it doesn't make sense, it just means because you're a nincompoop, right? So get into this, and then see what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, because right now, there are too many technology companies telling marketers how to market. And they're destroying brands, like Netflix just destroyed its own brand because it had no idea of what consumers are. And so be very, very careful, because you all are brand builders and marketers. And by saying this is not your business means marketing is not your business. Go ahead.
If I may, maybe echoing what you were saying, Kate, you and I were talking about this earlier. If you are nowhere right now, yes, listen to our words, but don't worry about structure at the beginning. Just get on it. Start tweeting. Start creating a social presence. Encourage it on your staff. Encourage it among your reporters. You don't want them to show everything, fair enough. But you've got to get out there. And once you've got some critical mass, I think, with your company, then you can start to structure it. Then you can start to plan for it. And, I'm sure there are those who consult and can get you a business plan moving forward. So I would just start by saying, get on it. Secondly, if you are already on it, chances are in 2007, 8, 9, maybe even 2010, you took advantage of technology and you put up Twitter feeds and you put up Facebook feeds and you automated a lot of stuff. Stop that. People get it now. People know when a headline is being automatically posted. They need to feel that there's a human being and a soul behind what is happening. We say sometimes that newspapers have to have a brand and a brand voice. When you go into the social realm, you have to have a social voice that builds on that brand voice, and it has to be authentic. So if you've got this basic stuff working, you're going to need to commit 1 or 2 people to go out, weave this together, create value, curate the conversation if need be, but also get out there into other websites. Don't obsess about bringing everything back to your website. It's not about just getting out onto Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. Get out there into blogs in your own community. Start commenting. If you're the Times of India, commit the Times of India's voice and brand to building up local businesses and the blogosphere in your area, okay? And don't ask anything in return at first. You'll get something. There'll be a moment where you can put that link and you can link back to your stuff. But add value to that conversation. And then finally, we're talking a lot about LinkedIn, we're talking a lot about Twitter, a lot about Facebook. They're going to look very different in 2 years. I think they'll be around in 10. But the key to take from this is what they've done for us is open up the idea of sharing and social. Okay? I talked with an editor a few weeks ago, traditional 55, 60-year-old editor, and she said something along the lines of, do I have to learn?
Do they behave differently to if they've arrived on your site from LinkedIn? The FT have recently...
Things that are analog are becoming digital. All things that are digital are becoming mobile. All things that are mobile are becoming analog. And you might say, what did that mean? It means once you basically have stuff on your phone, place and people start mattering again a lot. And so the whole idea of what's analog and what's digital starts to disappear. When someone is on Facebook and they go from basically hearing from a friend to completing a transaction, all exactly there, is that above the line or below the line? So we're using not only bad containers, bad mindsets, but terminology that doesn't make any sense for where the world is going. What you will hear is a cliched term, but very few people are thinking about it, which is paid, owned, and earned connections or paid, owned, and earned media. And every single media will be paid, owned, and earned. So Facebook has a paid, owned, and earned capability. The reason being is because of the internet, marketers don't necessarily have to put all their money into a newspaper to reach people. They will now put money into a newspaper to get people to come to their owned asset on Facebook, where they will then engage with people. So in effect, what's beginning to happen is marketers around the world are changing. I know this for a fact because we are turning our entire company on paid, owned, and earned. So you're going to see us taking, the 2 largest media communication and 2 largest digital agencies, $70 billion of spend, and we're betting it in only one thing, that the future is paid, owned, and earned. So as you think about the future, think about even some of the ways you measure and the way you think, because that's changing. Thank you very much.